get this going.
Still don't know how to start these, but welcome back to our kind of weekly podcast. Kind of depends on when we have stuff to actually kind of talk about. Last Monday it was just kind of, we're at 2-1 in this NBA series. We don't have too much to talk about. But now that we're past opening weekend of football and we're almost to the conference finals, we have a lot to talk about. So we're kind of going to make this almost more of an NFL kickoff edition since we are coming off the opening weekend. So I'll put a timestamp in the description and when we start talking about all the football stuff. But we do got to talk about some basketball first because we are getting very deep into the playoffs at this point. My biggest thing that I think is on most people's minds right now is tomorrow's Game 7 versus the Clippers and the Nuggets. I didn't go back and watch what our predictions were for that series. I know none of us picked the Nuggets to win. But how much of a chance do you give the Nuggets tomorrow night?
You know, they've been having a crazy road to Game 7s. I mean, against the Jazz, they went down 3-1 and then all of a sudden pulled off their miraculous run to Game 7 where they barely survived. Now here they are again, two miraculous comebacks against the Clippers twice in a row.
I was about to say, last year weren't both of their series Game 7s as well? Didn't they go to Game? I thought the Nuggets went to Game 7 last year both times, or did they go to Game 6 or something like that? I could have sworn
they might have. I'm not sure.
I was about to say.
But either way, here they are once again, down 3-1, overcome a 16-point deficit, and then a 19-point deficit. And in the last game, they just blew them off the court in the second half. So really, I don't know. I mean, this could go really either way. The way that the Nuggets are playing is just insane. I mean, they have been on their best game these past two. They went down 16 and 19, and then they just blew the Clippers off the floor and severely just destroyed them. I mean,
exactly.
The Clippers were seriously outmatched. But of course, you saw the Clippers before then build that 16-point lead. So really, it depends what Clipper team you're going to get. Are you going to get the team that got up by 19, was blown them off the court, or are you going to get the team that got blown off the court?
Yeah,
which one's going to show up?
The biggest thing is, and I don't know if it's just him. This is the main person I've seen. This whole Nuggets team has a lot of heart and a lot of just will to keep fighting through Game 7s. Because I did just look it up. At least the Western Conference semifinals last year, they did lose to Portland in 7 games. And then the Jazz, they made a 3-1 comeback, just fighting, willing their way through. And then this year, again, now against the Clippers, 3-1, willing their way to a Game 7. I think, honestly, especially Jamal Murray, his heart, he's left, I mean, all these players have left everything out on the court, but him specifically has been like, I remember, I think it was Game 5, he was talking about how the night before Game 5, he was packing his clothes, and he just stopped packing and texted his team and was like, hey, I don't want to go home. We're not going home. And they didn't. And they kept fighting, and he kept willing them. And just, honestly, I feel like it's the will, because I feel like the Clippers are the better team. The Clippers have a better chance of making the finals than they do. I think the Clippers have a better chance of beating the Lakers than they do. That's a better matchup for them. But sometimes, you got to take the hot team and the team with the will to push past. They let themselves get down. They were exhausted. And then they're like, no, we're not going home. We're going to keep willing our way through this series. So it'll be interesting. It depends. Can the Clippers match that intensity? If the Clippers can match that intensity, I think they have the better team. The biggest thing that the Nuggets have right now is their will to keep fighting. So it'll be an interesting one. Honestly, I still think I had the Clippers in 7. Very close game. I wouldn't be surprised if the Nuggets pull it out, though.
I think I'd probably say the same thing, because Kawhi Leonard in the Game 7, he now knows he's basically facing elimination, and
Dink.
He'll be done
Dink.
eventually. And then of course there's Paul George still, which
Mhm.
is hot. He's hot and cold. But if you get the hot version of Paul George,
Getting playoff P or no playoff P? All I can say is Kawhi Leonard Game 7. Dink. Thunk. Dink. Sixers fans know all about Game 7 Kawhi.
Might trigger some sort of reaction when you say that. When you start
all
that.
Sixers fans are just like have to. I should have given all Sixers fans a warning. But that's going to be an interesting one. I guess not the biggest surprise for me. No, this is definitely the biggest surprise for me. Is probably a bigger surprise than most people. Is the Celtics winning? I thought they were still maybe 2 years out from really, really competing, but they came out and they proved me wrong. I mean, Jason Tatum was playing out of his mind, Kemba Walker playing out of his mind. Honestly, Robert Williams has shown himself to be a really good backup center. Marcus Smart's obviously a really great defensive presence, and it was just enough for them to push through in 7. I mean, they looked like they had the series dominated if it wasn't for the fact that OG Anunoby hit that clutch half-second three-point shot in Game 3. They would have went down 3-0, and I think it would have been either a sweep or 5 games at that point. But they faced adversity with that shot, faced it head-on, and pushed through. So I thought that was a crazy series.
It was exactly what I expected, honestly. I thought it would be very closely contested, all-out war, very close, but the Celtics would come out on top in the very, very end, and that's basically what happened.
Mm-hmm.
What really surprised me was the Heat. Miami is going absolutely bananas right now.
Guess who wasn't surprised?
After we saw Giannis get hurt, we kind of thought, yeah, it was pretty much over. But still, geez, Miami. I mean, they're going insane. Jimmy Butler's on a tear. Duncan Robinson can't miss. I mean, honestly, if I had to pick somebody from the Eastern Conference Finals, I'm liking Miami right now, just because of how well they're playing. I mean, they're on absolute fire.
Hey, Jacob, when you're editing this video, can you, roll the tape of you saying that the Heat were going to beat the Bucks while nobody else said that? I wasn't taken aback. I knew it. Even going into the playoffs, knowing this matchup was a possibility. I remember one day I was at the park playing with some guys, and we were just talking, kind of warming up, and he was like, we were just kind of talking about playoffs. I'm like, man, the Eastern Conference would be insane, but I think the Heat would be a big mismatch for them. I honestly think the Heat would be able to beat the Bucks if they played them. And he was like, that's crazy, but I could see that too. And I'm like, no, my prediction is Heat over Bucks. And to be fair, I said Heat over Bucks in 7. It was a little bit shocking that they almost swept them. That I was not expecting. That was absolutely insane. They came dangerously close to sweeping them. But if I'm thinking about it, honestly, I just knew their shooting would get the better of them. I mean, there's only so much Giannis you can have. And if Chris Middleton doesn't show up, or Eric Bledsoe doesn't show up, somebody else doesn't show up, it's only Giannis. And to be fair, Chris Middleton did carry the load the last 2 games. Or no, the last game. He sucked Game 5, I think. He was like 8 for 24 or something like that. Something stupid like that. But they couldn't do it alone. And just the thing with the Heat is they're such a deep team. And they have so many good players that all have chips on their shoulder because they're either low draft picks or undrafted players. And I thought that was awesome to see them go out there and just honestly kick their butts. They destroyed them. I mean, they handled them. There were parts where it looked like the Bucks were just like a 7 or 8 seed. It didn't look good. It didn't look pretty. At least if you're a Bucks fan, which I'm okay with because I don't like the Bucks. So
Neither do I. So
that does set up a really interesting matchup, though, in the conference finals, because you have the Celtics, who have all these star players that were picked like top 10 with like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. I think Jaylen Brown was somewhere top 10. I don't remember exactly where he was picked.
probably.
Kemba Walker, all these guys were picked like early first round. And then I think it was like none of like the starting five besides like Andre Iguodala, or like nobody on the Heat besides Andre Iguodala is a top 10 pick. Some of them are lottery picks, but none of them are top 10 picks. So you've got like the underdog, undrafted, low draft pick guys versus the superstar picked first guys. So I think that'll be interesting. Honestly, our bracket isn't too much different, so we already know what we're picking. Does the Heat being in there change your decision, though, to vote Celtics?
That's hard to say. I'd probably still go Celtics, but I think before I said Celtics in like 6 or something like that against the Bucks. I'm putting it at 7. Celtics Heat is gonna be all out war.
It's gonna be a bar fight.
Yeah.
I think it's either gonna be 6 or 7. I'd lean more towards the 7 side, but I still do think I have the Celtics coming out on top and then losing in the finals. But now here's the big thing. We're done talking playoffs. I know everybody's been talking about it, but technically, the Giannis sweepstakes are technically going to be starting here soon, depending on if he agrees to an extension or not. Okay, if he agrees to an extension, then, well, the Giannis sweepstakes didn't begin.
Well, yeah, then it's over.
But if he denies that extension, that'll be interesting. I know everybody's making a big deal about, look, he says he wants to stay in Milwaukee. LeBron said he wanted to stay in Cleveland. Then he went to Miami.
And now look where he is.
Then he went to Miami. Then he went to LA. Kevin Durant wanted to stay in Oklahoma City and then went to join the Warriors. It happens time and time again where the superstars will say they want to be somewhere, then not go there. Then go somewhere else. Exactly. Just kind of almost more of like a ripping out of the hearts of your fans, thinking, hey, he wants to stay. Nope.
Interesting move for the Rockets. Mike D'Antoni not coming back.
I don't think that was the Rockets making the decision, though. I thought he said...
It was him who said he wasn't
coming back. Yeah, he said he wasn't coming back, and I was like...
Which is really curious.
That's going to be interesting. I wonder
So who's over for Houston?
I don't know, but Houston's in an interesting position with some aging stars. You got to think James Harden's starting to... He's not old yet. He's still got a good couple productive years left in him, but that window is decreasing for contention.
And then what's the next step for D'Antoni?
Philadelphia! No. Here you go, inherit a terrible situation. Go from one decent situation to a terrible situation. Merry Christmas, D'Antoni. But no, man, I don't know. That's going to be interesting. But like I said, the big thing is if Giannis doesn't agree to an extension, if you are the Bucks, what is your level of panic?
High. Very, very
high enough.
I don't know. What's the max level for panic?
High enough to shop for a trade? Or try to get one good year out of him? Because that's the thing. His trade value is going to be really bad next year. Like, it's going to basically be I mean, obviously, anybody would want Giannis. No duh. But he's on the end of his contract. You're basically renting him at that point. You basically better have a championship team ready if you're going to trade for Giannis. But I don't think the Bucks would do that. I think the Bucks would have to hope. The thing is, the only place he's known is Milwaukee. That's where he's lived. That's where he resides. What happens when he goes to, say, in New York or in LA or in Miami and they start showing him all these big market stuff and all this new fashion, fancy schmancy stuff? I mean, who wants to live in Wisconsin? What do you got, cheese? That's about it. I take the beaches and parties over cheese. Over cheese.
I think anyone would.
And it's Wisconsin. Nobody likes Wisconsin.
No.
Sorry.
I think
I'm sorry if you're from Wisconsin. I'm sure you're a lovely person. I just don't like the Packers, so I don't like Wisconsin.
I don't like the Packers. I don't really care much about Wisconsin. It's Ohio, I can't say.
Oh yeah, okay. Ohio's worse. I mean, Ohio's the worst state in America. Like, Wisconsin's up there, but if you want to talk about worst states in America, and off-topic story real quick. I had my friend who said she went up on a mission to Ohio, and she said it was one of the most beautiful places she's ever been to. I'm like, you don't get out much, do you? I'm like, you don't get out much, do you? It's like cornfields and smog. That's all Ohio is. I'm like, maybe I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and say maybe you went to a really nice place, but other than that, I don't think you get out very much. I know you're just used to flat
went to Cedar Point. I don't know.
I know you're used to flat desert at this point, but I don't know. It'll be interesting. Giannis will be an interesting one to talk about. We'll have to get more information as we come forward. But anyway, I think it's about time we start talking some football. Finally talking some football. The NFL is back with a pretty good opening weekend. We're just gonna push through it, and I'm gonna try to not move as much because this is really bad. Okay. Anyway, football's back to a pretty good opening weekend. It was weird to see no fans, but again, it wasn't insanely weird. Honestly, I felt them having the fake crowd noise wasn't terrible. It was noticeable in some places. Like, it was noticeable if, like, an interception happened or whatnot, but that's really it.
I mean, the MLB is doing the fake crowd noise, too. So.
Yeah.
And even some places actually had, like, some fans. Like,
Kansas
City had some, and Jacksonville.
Cardboard cutouts, otherwise.
Well, I mean, like, actual fans.
Yeah, I know. A lot of colleges have fans too. There are a decent bit of college. I like watched the Notre Dame game, and there was like a crap ton of people at the Notre Dame game. I was like, "Is this a replay?" But no, it was good. But amongst the weirdest season in any sports history, one of the weirdest seasons, we can at least say some things never change, and that leads me into the first game we're gonna talk about. The Detroit Lions versus the Chicago Bears. Now, if you don't know this about us, we're both from the Detroit area. We're both huge Detroit fans, Pistons fans, Lions fans, Tigers fans, Red Wings fans. So we know a thing or two about disappointment, especially on the Lions side. And I remember sitting there yesterday, it was 23-6, and I was like, Dad, it looks like the Lions might not actually blow a lead this time. And Dad is like, don't say that. It has to be a 50-point lead for me to feel comfortable. And I'm like, that probably has never happened in the history of the Lions, but then I had to go do something. I had to go get some stuff from the store, so I ran to the store, took my water in to go test it at my store real quick. Was talking to my boss and was like, it looks like the Lions might not actually blow a lead this time. He's like, don't speak too soon. The Bears just scored a touchdown. It's 23-13. I'm like, oh no. I don't like that. And then I get to my car, and it's 20-13, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I'm walking out of the store, it's 26-13, and I'm like, oh no.
You mean 27-23?
27-23, that's what I meant. You know what that's what
Yeah.
I meant. And then I'm driving home, and I get a text from my dad saying that DeAndre Swift dropped it going into the end zone. I still haven't seen the play. I still haven't seen how bad it is.
Live.
I can't watch. I can't watch the game live until the current game's over, because they just show us what they think is the best game, which was Packers Vikings. So the only thing I could watch was Packers Vikings. But after that game, it was the CBS game that finished early. It was the Patriots Dolphins game that finished early, and my dad was watching it live, and he was like, he just dropped it going into the end zone. I was like, first off, dang it, the Lions blew another lead again to lose. And then my second thought was, gosh darn it, I have DeAndre Swift for fantasy. That's another touchdown that I lost.
Well,
in which
really,
I'm currently,
just...
I was about to say, in which I'm currently in a 14-point deficit, so that 6 points would have been really nice, Swift. All right, go on.
Well, really, it's the most lion way to lose. I mean, you're up by 17. Oh, also, before I start this, side note, if you're curious where our friend Dylan is currently at, since there's only 2 of us on the show today, he could not be with us today. He is currently busy, probably with what I can only assume would be college. I don't know because I'm not in college. But...
you're just like he can't be here with us today. I'm like, don't make it sound like he died. I'm like, holy crap. No, he can't be here. He can't be here with us today. But we also have a couple other people that we have on deck to join up as well. So be on the lookout for some new people as well, new faces. Anyway, talk about the Lions.
Yeah. But yeah, it's the most Lion way to lose. I mean, you're up by however many, it was 17. You're up 23-6. You literally are just blowing them away. You have a lead, and you just decide to give up 21 points straight. And then, of course, on top of it, you just have to drop the ball right in the end zone when it was an easy pass, a dime from Stafford, right to DeAndre Swift, and then it just, yeah, well, we're not going to talk about that. Anyway.
That's the Lions for you. Yeah, so be expecting us to definitely do a dive into any Lions games, because those are the big ones to us. Anyway, let's start talking about some more of the morning games. Packers-Vikings. Holy crap, I stopped watching after the first half, and then looked at the final score and was like, what the heck happened in the second half? Did we just, like, not play defense?
Well, yeah, that's one way of putting it. Aaron Rodgers was the Aaron Rodgers of old from a couple of years ago.
And Kirk Cousins is still the same Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, and Dalvin Cook is a monster, like we expected.
He was like
honestly,
probably one of the biggest pickups.
They both looked very good offensively. The Packers looked terrible defensively, like we expected. But for Minnesota, it was a big surprise. Seeing that they traded for Unique Ngakoue, they have him on the team now, along with other players. They expected to be at least decent defensively, and then the Packers drop a 43 bomb on them on the road.
Well, on the
road, yeah.
Road.
Well,
to be fair, Aaron Rodgers doesn't play too well in indoors. Doesn't play as well. It's like reverse Drew Brees. Drew Brees doesn't play well outdoors. So that was an interesting one. Continuing on, we're just kind of go through all these super quickly. Panthers. Yeah, I guess we'll go with that one next. Panthers Raiders. Panthers actually put up a pretty good fight. They lost by 3, right? Though 4. The Raiders did win. I knew the Raiders won, but that was an interesting one. Christian McCaffrey definitely has a huge load to carry this year. No disrespect to Teddy Bridgewater. He's a great quarterback. He's just not Cam Newton. And
I think the Panthers are in a really nice position. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey is one of the is the best running back in the league. Probably one of the best players you'll find in the league. They have some nice receivers. Robbie Anderson's really good. I really like DJ Moore. He's a nice player. So the Panthers, they have guys, but Las Vegas, wow, they looked pretty good. I mean, Josh Jacobs, that was insane. I mean, I'm not saying Josh Jacobs looked very, very good for the Raiders in that game. That was 25 carries, 93 yards, and 3 scores.
That was a good game for Vegas.
Very, very impressive.
It was a very...
And Derek Carr wasn't terrible either. 22 of 30, 239 yards and a score. That's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
But if Josh Jacobs can do stuff like that consistently, getting 3 scores, almost 100 yards, 25 carries. Raiders will be in very, very good shape.
Exactly.
Not to mention the fact they have a stud in Henry Ruggs.
And actually, I don't know how well the Broncos are going to be this year, but they don't have a terribly tough division outside of obviously the reigning champions. I don't think the Chargers are really going to be that good with Tyrod Taylor as their quarterback. With I think it's Tyrod Taylor with Justin Herbert backing him up.
Yeah, Tyrod Taylor is the starter, which is scary.
Yeah. That was definitely one of the more underwhelming matchups, which we'll get to later.
Barely could beat 10 goals.
Now, the Panthers, that brings up the question of how good are the Buccaneers actually going to be, which I want to get to later. But the Panthers actually are in a pretty good division, too. Are actually in a pretty decent division. I mean, Saints, Bucks, Falcons are probably going to be mediocre at best.
Carolina, or the Panther, that's the Saints, Falcons, Panthers. That's the NFC South, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
I mean, obviously
NFC West, I think, in my opinion, are probably the two best divisions.
NFC West. I think NFC West is easily the best division.
Easily the best.
Easily the toughest division.
And then
thanks for putting my team in there. For those of you who don't know, I'm from Detroit. Dylan and I are both also same thing with Dylan and I. Dylan and I are both from Detroit. Same with Mitch. But Dylan and I actually moved to Arizona, so I actually reside in Arizona now. So I'm also a Cardinals fan. So we're in the.
I still live in Detroit.
He still lives in Detroit. It's probably cold there. I actually used to live really close to not super close to Detroit, but I used to live right over 11 Mile, right in between 11 and 10 Mile. So right on that side of Warren. Right where you start getting into the hood. Hood is 9 and 8 Mile. Anything past 8 Mile is really bad, but we were close. We got out of there pretty quickly. But those are definitely the two best. I don't know. We'll have to talk about divisions here after we get through all these. After we get through the matchups. All right, I know I said we were going to talk about divisions, but I just want to make it out there real quick. I'm going to make a quick, bold statement that the Bills are going to win the AFC East. Anyway, Bills and Jets. I watched this. I didn't watch it, but I saw it was 21-0. I'm like, oh, wow. I think the Bills are going to be really good, but the Jets, man. I mean, they kind of turned it up near the end and made it a game, but is Sam Darnold their guy?
Jets are lacking defense, I think. I mean, they lost Jamal Adams. They had to trade him away, obviously. He did not want to be with the Jets anymore, so they had to get him away to Seattle, which we'll get to that game later. That was a pretty interesting game in and of itself, but they had to trade him away to the Seahawks, and now they just have a gaping hole. Apparently the Giants just scored a touchdown, but they have a gaping hole really at safety because Jamal Adams was their star player on the defensive end, and now he's not even there. They've lost a serious blitzer and serious player. But I think the Jets did very well against a very good Buffalo team. I do like the Bills this year. They look much better offensively, in my opinion. Zach Moss was a great player at Utah. He was a nice pickup, I think, for the Bills. And then obviously Stephon Diggs is a huge pickup, I think, for the Bills.
Yeah,
gives them
their
outstanding.
Their offense.
They need a number one guy that could really carry their team, and Josh Allen still is not a great quarterback in my opinion.
He's a good running quarterback. Oh my gosh.
Well, yeah.
He led the team in rushing with 14 carries for 57 yards. That's not good.
Yep.
That's like Lions bad in terms of rushing. Holy crap. But I mean, Josh Allen did pretty good yesterday. I think he's a good guy. I think he's pretty good. I don't know if he's championship level quarterback, but he is a pretty good quarterback to build around. I mean, I'm looking at his stats right now. I mean, 33 for 46 for 312 yards. Granted, it's against the Jets defense, but still, I think he's a pretty good guy, and I think he'll be able to lead the Bills to the division title. First
In
time
a couple
the Patriots.
years, I think Josh Allen could be a nice quarterback. Right now, though, I think he can still use a bit of some
Oh yeah,
development.
he still has a lot of development to go, but right now, I mean, he's still a pretty good quarterback. He just once he develops more, he can be even a top echelon quarterback. Not like top, but like top 7 or something like that. Top 7, top 10 if he develops.
Last year, when we saw Buffalo play, we saw they had literally no offense, but the defense was one of the best in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're seeing the Bills, and they have the same defense
with a really
and now
good
they
offense.
have an offense to go with it. They have like some offensive players. That's what really draws people's attention. As for the Jets, I do like the Jets. I think they are a decent team. But like I said before, they're a little lacking on the defensive end. However, Le'Veon Bell hurt.
Injured, yeah.
Hamstring injury.
After that,
problem.
I think they might actually finish at the bottom of their division. I don't know.
That could be an issue, I think, for the Jets. Le'Veon Bell is their big player. He's supposed to be making a huge gain this year. Jets they got a humongous tackle in the draft, and so that was supposed to really help him out. And then in the first game, Le'Veon gets hurt, and they had like literally no carries.
Yep. Sucks.
That's where I see issues for the Jets. But of course, you got Rashad Perryman and Jamison Crowder in the receiving corps, so they have guys to throw to.
Mm-hmm.
The Jets aren't horrible.
Exactly.
They're not exactly any team that I'd consider overpowering or anything.
Yeah. Let's go back to another thing that is very typical every season. The Cleveland Browns suck. They don't suck. I was about to say they don't suck, but they're the land of irrelevancy. And the Baltimore Ravens were definitely not a good team to start off against. Obviously have a chip on their shoulder after getting upset by the Titans last year. Thought they should have made a much deeper playoff run than losing their first game as a 1 seed.
Honestly, for the Browns, they are, in my opinion, they're way better than how they're actually playing. I mean, Baker Mayfield has been horrible. Absolutely horrible. There is no playing it any other way. He has sucked.
You know what the best?
Quite literally.
You know what the funny thing is, though? Even though he sucks, he's still the best Browns quarterback they've had in like the past 15 years.
I know. That's scary.
I honestly, in my opinion, if you take this team and make them the Patriots, just like the entire team, boom, they're now on the Patriots instead, and the entire Patriots team is now on the Browns team. The Browns team will actually be better. It's literally because they play for the Browns. There is something about the Browns that just brings out the worst in people. It's like being drafted by the Lions, but worse. People's careers go there to die.
The noticeable thing that I think people are picking up on is Hunt outcarried Chubb. Believe it or not, Kareem Hunt had 13 carries to Nick Chubb's 10.
Wasn't that the guy who
Hunt had 72 yards and Chubb had 60 with a fumble?
Wasn't that the guy who punched someone that played on the Chiefs? Hunt?
No, not Hunt. You're thinking of Myles Garrett.
No. It was last year. I could have sworn it was someone on the Chiefs because I had them for fantasy and they were doing really good. And they punched some chick in an elevator and got literally cut from the team.
Oh yeah, that is Kareem Hunt.
Okay, yeah. That guy. Okay, man, people get so many tries. I mean, Adrian Peterson's still playing, for God's sake. I don't know how, but.
And he's a Lion for some reason now.
Yeah.
Did that happen?
But no, I don't know. The Browns, they're probably gonna finish third.
Honestly, we're looking at the weapons that the Browns have. I mean, we're looking at this: Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, Austin Hooper, David Njoku. What are they missing? A quarterback. And Baker Mayfield has sucked.
He would be a good backup in the NFL, but again, I don't even know if it's just him or if it's just the Browns. Like, seriously. The Browns are just irrelevant.
For me, I think it has everything to do with Baker Mayfield. A lot of teams, it surrounds around the play of the quarterback. Because you don't have the quarterback doing their job, then it just causes problems for the rest of the team. Whether it's for the running game or for the receiving game, you need your quarterback to be able to play, and Baker Mayfield has not been able to do that at all, whatsoever. So it all is about Baker Mayfield. If Mayfield can play, and he looks like he did in Oklahoma, which everyone expected when the Browns drafted him number 1, they could be a very, very good team. I mean, like I said, they have all the options. Put it together.
He's had flashes of greatness. I think they also need a good coach. I mean, honestly, last year hiring a coach who had never coached ever didn't work. They need a good coach. They really need a good coach. Someone that can take this team, lead it, and work with everybody to make them all work together. The chemistry is not there. There is no chemistry because there is no good coach to orchestrate that chemistry. And the Ravens are the Ravens. The Ravens will probably be good this year. Definitely at least a 10-win team, probably 10 to 12 wins, maybe even 13 if they're as good as last year. I mean, half of their games are against the Browns and the Bengals anyway. So, and the AFC honestly doesn't have as good of talent as the NFC, at least from what I'm seeing. I honestly think the NFC is the better division. Think about it.
By the way, pardon me if any of you guys just heard what happened upstairs. Apparently, my parents and my brother are currently watching the Giants and Steelers, which there was a big pick, and so my brother has the Steelers defense in fantasy, so he got really excited by that.
Oh, good. My dad's a Steelers fan, so.
Also, you probably can tell I'm in my basement. I know the background literally sucks. I'm currently working on improving this so it doesn't look absolutely miserable, but now it's a work in progress, so soon enough it'll be changed. Yeah. Anyway,
I was about to say once I move out, I'll have my own studio area. Once I move out, okay. But another thing, off topic, before we get to the next game, I am so happy that Fox finally retired the solid color bars. Their graphic thing looks so much better now. The only thing is, I feel like half the time there was no first down marker, though. There was no yellow first down line, and it had a lot of glitches in its first week. But still, I'm so glad that we're finally moving away from the solid bar of color. That looked so boring. This looks a lot nicer. Anyway, on to the next game of the morning. Okay, this is an interesting one. Colts and Jaguars. Jaguars ended up pulling away by 7. Gardner Minshew threw 3 touchdowns. Is he going to be their quarterback for the future?
He looked very good in his first game. Am I reading that right? Well, apparently I am. 19 of 20 for 173 yards.
I don't see his actual box score. I just saw he scored 3 touchdowns. Holy crap.
Well, yeah, it says 19 of 20 for 173 yards and 3 touchdowns.
That's insane.
I did not know he only had 1 incompletion, but either way, even with that, the Jaguars looked very good in their first game. No Leonard Fournette was a big thing to watch for Jacksonville, because obviously they got rid of their number 1 running back, and James Robinson stepped in and was fine. But you saw Keenan Cole, Chenault, DJ Chark, a lot of guys stepping up in the receiving core, making nice plays, getting them down the field, and it just really worked out for Jacksonville against what was supposed to be a good Colt defense.
Yeah, and I mean, the Colt offense did not look that good. I mean, Phillip Rivers had 1 touchdown to 2 interceptions. He did He did throw a lot of yards though. I mean, 36 for 46 and 363 yards is pretty good. He just didn't get it into the end zone himself. It was more a running game.
Yeah, I was gonna say as for the Colts, like you said, they did not look great. I mean, Rivers had 36 to 46, 363 yards, touchdown, 2 picks. So more of a Phillip Rivers stat line, basically, right there for nowadays. Gets a lot of yards, throws some picks, throws some scores. Basically, Rivers doing what Rivers just does. Apparently, the set was in for a while. I have no idea why. But the Indy rushing game is really something to take a look at. You got Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines, Marlon Mack back there. You will know who's getting the carries. However, Marlon Mack is believed, I don't know if it's confirmed yet, but he is feared to have a torn Achilles. So that will probably put Jonathan Taylor into the starting role, I think, for Indy. I don't see Nyheim Hines really getting a whole lot of carries. He's more of the passing down specialist, so I'll see him getting probably a lot like catches out of the backfield, something like that. Or Jonathan Taylor doing a little bit of that. Who knows? But Jonathan Taylor is going to be called upon now a lot more with Marlon Mack done for probably the season.
Exactly. But that Jacksonville team did kind of surprise me. That's pretty crazy. That's a good win right off the bat. And Gardner Minshew looked great.
Probably one of the I'd consider that one of the biggest upsets of week 1.
Yeah. All right. Jacksonville might be a team to look out for. But honestly, on to the second 17-point blown lead. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington football team. I hate that they didn't think of a name in time, and it's just the Washington football team. That's just terrible. But the Philadelphia Eagles, what was it, 2 interceptions for Carson Wentz? I think you would know since you have him on fantasy. Was it 2 interceptions?
Yeah, it was 2 picks and 2 touchdowns.
Carson Wentz did not look amazing yesterday. And
he started off well.
Started off well.
Fine to start the game, and then Washington is like they woke a sleeping giant at the end, and
they sacked him like 8 times.
Really, yeah, 8 times.
8 sacks.
Fell apart.
That's not good.
And again, the injuries are ravaging their receiving core once again. Miles Sanders not playing. Somehow Jalen Reagor was playing for this game, but Alshon Jeffrey was not playing. So they're still missing a whole lot of players on that team. A big one was Miles Sanders not playing. They had a 17-point lead, and then all of a sudden, Washington just comes out of nowhere.
Their defense.
Barber had 17 carries. Where'd that come from?
Their defense is what popped out of nowhere. Their defense really saved their butts. I mean, honestly, their offense wasn't even that great.
Players on the defense, but for them to really come out like that and play that well was definitely
their offense didn't
surprising.
Their offense didn't even have to do much.
They have what? They have Landon Collins, Chase Young, not Josh Allen. I forget the guy's name from Alabama, but I like him. Oh, Jonathan Allen. That's right. He's a nice player. They still got Ryan Kerrigan, Ryan Anderson. They got decent players on the defensive side. They just never really put it together, and they still got some holes out there.
I was about to say,
the Eagles just looked awful.
Dwayne Haskins only was able to get going once his defense gave him good field position. When they didn't have good field position in the first half, he was like 2 for 8. But then he ended the game 17 for 31, which, I mean, isn't outstanding. It's not 19 for 20 freaking Gardner Minshew out here. But it's not nothing to like scoff at. It's not terrible. So, and 178 yards and a touchdown, that's pretty good. But that was because the defense kept setting him up. Honestly, Washington's defense is what saved them in that game.
The Eagles just are missing too many guys. I mean, I know it's hard to keep blaming injuries for the Eagles' struggles, but when you're missing your number 1 running back and then your number 1 receiver, and then an offensive lineman, and then another offensive lineman, it gets rather harsh.
I saw this meme the other day. It was a picture of like an Eagles like PlayStation 4 controller, and it was like Madden 21 or Madden 21 Eagles controls, and literally every button was like press circle to get a season-ending injury, press X to break your leg, press square to run into a wall and injure yourself, press triangle to put up the medical tent. press start to open your injury list. It's sad, but no, they got to pick it up now. For the morning game that I know you all have been waiting for us to talk about, Dolphins and Patriots. Cam Newton, first game, looked pretty good. Considering he's only been there for not that long. He was like one of the last free agents to be picked up.
I'm telling you, the new look Patriots look like they'll be just fine.
They do.
I mean, I don't think they'll be Super Bowl champions. I mean,
no.
They maybe will make the playoffs, maybe. But you look at Cam Newton, 15 and 19, 155 yards, no scores, no touchdowns, no picks. Big thing for New England was the amount of rushing that they did. You can look at this. Newton, 15 carries for 75 yards. Michelle, 10 for 37. Burkhead, 7 to 32.
Mm-hmm.
4 for 28. 1 for 23. 5 for 22. The whole team carried it 42 times for 217 yards.
Which is really good.
It's very obvious that we know what the Patriots want to do this year. But I think you can really, if Cam Newton keeps playing like this, and you can get some scoring in the air, this Patriot team is going to be just fine.
Yeah.
But, of course, it's going to be if Cam Newton stays healthy and plays like he did when he was an MVP.
Honestly, yeah. And there should be no reason why they don't make the playoffs. I would think, at worst, they are either a 5th or a 6th seed. Considering the wild card teams they would have to go up against, they should be just fine in the AFC. Now to the evening game. Go on.
Actually, looking at the Dolphins, though, I did want to talk about this because Miami, I think, has some players. They're not fantastic, but this is another team that I think could be a sneaky pick.
Are we going to get Fitz?
They have Jordan Howard, Matt Breida, nice 1-2 combo. They had Gaskin carrying it a lot, though. Didn't notice that. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, the starting quarterback for Miami, he looked okay.
He didn't know. No, are we going to get
outside of 3 picks?
I was about to say, are we going to get 3 interceptions, Fitzpatrick, or are we going to get Fitzmagic of last year? I had him for fantasy for like the first 4 weeks, and he was just like freaking insane for the first 4 weeks. But then after that, he just dropped off a cliff. But the Dolphins will be an interesting one. But we also forgot to talk about the Thursday night game, Chiefs-Texans. It looked like a slaughter. The Texans came back to kind of make it a game, but Chiefs still looked just as good as they did last year.
Yeah, we'll be going to Seattle Falcons later, another 1 o'clock game. But
yeah.
Chiefs, yeah,
missed that one.
Anyways, Chiefs and Texans, yeah. Well, I will say for the Texans, David Johnson looked like the David Johnson we remember for the Cardinals. Now, of course, the receiving core looked absolutely atrocious. But
now that DeAndre Hopkins isn't there.
Yeah, but still, David Johnson looked like the David Johnson that we all remember. And if he can play like that, watch out, because that David Johnson, all Cardinals fans know, and you do too.
David Johnson,
like an absolute beast.
David Johnson can play, though I am happy to have DeAndre Hopkins, because it fits better with how our offense is organized. Our offense is much more leaning towards the pass with Kyler Murray.
And then for the Chiefs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire
looked good.
Where'd that come from?
He looked good.
Yeah, 25 carries, 138 yards, and a score. I mean, that's unbelievably good.
For your first game? Because there's no preseason either. All these rookies are playing for the first time.
Yeah, and he looked absolutely fantastic for the Chiefs, and they still look good in receiving core. Chiefs are going to be very, very good this year, yet again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they could be, they might make it to the Super Bowl again.
Yeah.
I think it's very possible that Baltimore, Kansas City, in the AFC Championship game is pretty much just inevitable. But I wouldn't say that for sure.
We did say that last year, and then the Titans and then the Titans became the Titans, and somehow did the unthinkable and beat the Patriots and the Ravens. All right, we're gonna go to the game that I forgot about because honestly, it was terrible. The Seahawks blew the cap off of the Falcons, 38-25. Russell Wilson had 4 touchdowns.
Well, Wilson was Wilson.
Yeah, Russell Wilson was Russell Wilson. That was insane, though.
We just read this stat line. 31 of 35, 322 yards, 4 touchdowns. He basically averaged 9 yards a pass. This is MVP Russell Wilson. This is what he does every week.
If he does
Seattle, it's very, very good.
If he does this every week, I mean, he's gonna win the MVP if he does this every single week. I mean, honestly, Metcalf is a good receiver that they got. This team is insane. This division.
Look at Seattle's rushing game. You got Chris Carson, who looked absolutely fine returning. Carlos Hyde still did out-carry him, though, but Carson was very much involved in the passing game. So, seeing how well he played there, I think that Hyde is probably going to fall off the cliff a little bit. But he'll come in every once in a while still to give Chris Carson a breather, because obviously he was a 1,000-yard rusher for the Texans last year. So, also, very nice backup, by the way. Anyway, I mean, I really like Seattle this year. This is a very, very, very good-looking team. Russell Wilson, obviously a all-star quarterback. Chris Carson, fantastic running back. Carlos Hyde, a very nice running back too.
It's gonna
DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, both very good receivers. And you got Greg Olsen, who's also very good. Will Dissly, and then there's the defense that now has Jamal Adams, who also decided to go off. By the way, yeah, still the same Jamal Adams with the Jets. And then you got the rest of that defense that is already very, very good. Quandre Diggs, Bobby Wagner. This team is nuts.
Honestly, it is going to be... Honestly, after the way the other game ended yesterday, honestly, I'm willing to say it might even be a 3-way race for that division title.
I knew it was going to be that.
It might even be a 4-way race. I don't know about the Rams. But honestly, I didn't know how good the Cardinals were going to be. But the fact that they came out and beat the 49ers in San Francisco, I think they have a shot at least being the second place in the division, maybe even the first. I mean, they beat the Seahawks for once last year, I want to say, and came close in another game. They came close both times they played the 49ers last year, and now that you add DeAndre Hopkins to that team, I'm getting out of hand, but honestly, that division is going to be a super interesting race. I wouldn't be surprised if both wildcard teams came from that division. I would be a little surprised, but honestly...
Isn't there spots now?
What?
I thought there was 3 spots for the playoffs now.
Is there?
Yeah, I thought the NFL created
They did change the playoffs, didn't they?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Hang on. Hang on.
I'm pretty sure they put it... I'm pretty sure. I don't think I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure they put in a 7th spot.
Expands playoff format in time for 2020 playoffs. Wait. We'll each have 7 playoff teams. Wow, okay. Honestly, that makes me, as a Cardinals fan, insanely excited. Because that means we could get that 7 seed. And the thing is, if we get the 7 seed, we're probably playing either the 49ers or the Seahawks. Because honestly, I think whoever wins this division is going to be the top seed. Real quick, I guess we can talk about the Falcons. Matt Ryan looked all right. Todd Gurley looked all right. They're going to be an all right team. They're going to be a mediocre, best middle of the pack team, maybe 8-8 lower. They're in a good division.
Atlanta is the poor man's version of Kansas City from last year. They are a very good offense that has a lot of players, but they have basically the worst defense that you'll ever see in the NFL.
Yep.
That is Atlanta. But if they can pull together some defensive ability, they could be a good team. But I don't see that happening because there is no defensive ability on
Exactly.
that.
All right, so I think we can breeze through 2 of these next 4 games, then we can get to the divisions and wrap it up here. But the one that I'm most excited to talk about is the Cardinals beating the 49ers 24-20. Holy crap, that was an exciting game. Cardinals missed 2 field goals.
I told people from the beginning of the year, Cardinals are going to be a team to watch out for.
They're a sneaky team.
Kyler Murray is a great quarterback. I mean, look at the stat line was just fine. 26 of 40, 230 yards, touchdown to pick. I mean, not great, but
almost
not
had 2 touchdowns.
Either.
Almost had 2 touchdowns. It got taken off the board, but it was about it was almost 2 touchdowns. So he did really well.
But rushing the ball also for Kyler Murray, 13 carries, 91 yards, and a touchdown. Kenyon Drake had 16 for 60 and a touchdown. Hopkins had 14 catches, 151 yards. And then Larry Fitzgerald was Larry Fitzgerald, and then there's Christian Kirk who did nothing. But the Arizona offense is absolutely devastating.
And here's the big thing. This is the big thing I want to talk about as a Cardinals fan going into it. I knew our biggest struggle would be our defense. But our defense looked absolutely insane last night. I mean, besides one busted play, there was one busted play right at the beginning of the game that led to a huge touchdown. Other than that, we pretty much stumped the 49ers offense. And then they were making a march down. I thought they were going to score and win the game. 4th down stop. Jimmy Garoppolo throws the ball, and our D-back gets his hand right in there. I think it was number 33. Just bopped it out of there. And it was insane. The defense showed up for the Cardinals. And if their defense can show up as well as their offense, I'm excited for the Seahawks and Cardinals games. Holy crap, those are going to be shootouts with
Honestly,
defense.
I think the Arizona Cardinals are the most underrated team in the NFL.
Easily. They're easily
the most underrated NFL team.
Easily.
Defense. I love their defense. I love their offense. This is really one of my picks to make the playoffs. It was even before the season started.
Yeah, no, I think
they made that Hopkins trade, and they got Isaiah Simmons and other people in the draft. I'm like, this is gonna be a playoff team.
I was about to say,
gonna be a playoff team.
they are good as a playoff team. They are as good as a playoff team. The only thing is, if they would be a surefire playoff team in any other division. But they do play in the toughest division in football.
But they'll at least make the wild card, in my opinion.
They should, especially with the seventh team added. They should. This is one that we can.
It leads to the other NFC matchup between the Bucs and the Saints.
This is an interesting
Tom
one.
Brady in a Buck jersey just does not look right.
I didn't know that Gronk came out of retirement until I was watching the game and I saw him on the sideline. Like, oh my gosh, Gronk did come out of retirement just to play with Tom Brady and the Bucs. It's the Patriots, but in Buccaneers with a bunch of what?
You seriously didn't know that Gronk came out of retirement?
No, I knew he got traded, but I didn't know he actually came out of retirement. I wasn't paying attention to NFL too much during that time. I knew he was traded to the Bucs. I didn't know he actually he actually said, I'm going to come out of retirement and play with them. But,
Tampa Bay, I think, is another team that could be very, very good, but they just started off with a bad opponent. New Orleans is very, very good. Offensively, they're ridiculously talented, and defensively, they have players. And I just don't think the Bucs were ready for that kind of a matchup.
The wild card, yeah.
Brady was 23 of 36, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns, but then 2 picks. That's really the big stat to look at. 2 interceptions is not very, very good. But of course, rushing the football is going to be a big thing for Tampa Bay because you have a four-headed monster there with Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones, LaShawn McCoy, and the rookie Keyshawn Vaughn from Vanderbilt. All four of those guys are probably going to get attention in that offense. So you got to really just figure out which one's going to get the attention the most, which was Ronald Jones in game one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, LaShawn McCoy didn't even get a carry, and neither did Keyshawn Vaughn, but McCoy still saw one catch in the game. But Tampa Bay, they have Goodwin, they have Gronk, they have Howard, they have Mike Evans. Do I need to go on? I mean, this Tampa Bay offense is literally loaded.
Honestly,
I think that's pretty obvious. And then you look at the Tampa Bay defense: Levante David, Devin White, Winfield, Pierre Paul, Nakamian Sue.
Mm-hmm.
They have all the talent to really be a NFL force.
Honestly,
yeah.
The 2 wildcard spots are going to come down to... Okay, there are 3 wildcard spots, but I think it's almost guaranteed that either the 49ers or the Seahawks, whichever doesn't win the division, will have that first spot. And then the other 2 spots, I think, are going to be between the Cardinals, the Vikings, and the Bucs, which I think it'll be the Bucs and the Cardinals coming out on top. But I think the Vikings are always in there that have a chance. Maybe the Panthers pull something out crazy out of their butts that we weren't expecting. I don't see anyone else in the NFC. I don't see anyone else in the NFC East doing anything besides whoever wins that division, because that division is honestly one of the worst divisions in football.
That division, don't get me started with that.
That division just sucks. That division just sucks.
That division just sucks.
It's terrible. But honestly, it looked good. Saints, obviously, Alvin Kamara, Drew Brees on his last year, looked amazing. Still
big thing actually about the Saints. I just saw this. I didn't notice it, but another backup outcarried the starter. Latavius Murray had 15 carries to Kamara's 12.
Oh wow!
Interesting development there. I didn't notice that until a minute ago. I mean, Kamara had 12 carries for 16 yards and a touchdown, but Latavius Murray had 15 for 48.
Mm-hmm.
Curious to say the least.
That is very interesting. This one we can just kind of skip over. There's not too much to talk about here because this was probably the worst game of the weekend. Chargers and Bengals. That was just... I'm glad that I didn't have to watch that one. Tyrod Taylor was 16 for 30 with 208 yards, no touchdown. Joe Burrow starting scores the only touchdown for the Bengals. Unless they scored 2 touchdowns. I don't actually know. I didn't watch. It looks like they just scored a touchdown and 2 field goals.
As far as I know, there was a touchdown in the end zone that was overturned by the referees. It was supposed to be a touchdown by Joe Burrow to AJ Green, but it got overturned because of offensive pass interference. And then the Bengals missed a 31-yard field goal. So,
I mean, considering...
Needless to say, both of these teams just are pieces of crap.
These are
probably aren't goals.
Bottom of their division.
So, moving on.
I was about to say, both bottom of their division. Joe Burrow looks good, might give you some hope if you're a Bengals fan, but you're also a Bengals fan, so you probably don't have very much hope to begin with. Now for the nightcap. Sunday night. The nightcap, Sunday Night Football. Cowboys-Rams. Actually closer than I thought, and honestly, shocked the Rams pulled it out.
Not anyone was expecting.
This makes me a little scared for the Cowboys. They're going to be the best team in their division.
This was
the best team in the division.
For the Cowboys, I think this was just no NFL team has obviously had any time to play with each other. So they're all missing the chemistry part of the game.
Bad start.
For Dallas, they have a lot of their defense has significantly changed, which, by the way, their defense had some players do very, very well in their first game. They also did lose in the offseason, though. Gerald McCoy and Clinton Dix, they both McCoy had a season-ending injury, and then they just released Clinton Dix. So Dallas has had some issues in the defense, but they look pretty good for the most part. Defensively, it was the offense that was rather lackluster, to be honest. It was a bit surprising. The Rams came out and looked much better than people expected.
I mean,
really much better.
Honestly, Jared Goff is the example of a just good enough quarterback. He's a just good enough guy.
He sucks, but he literally just somehow...
He's like Baker Mayfield.
Just enough for a starting quarterback.
He's basically...
Literally. I don't know how he does it, but he just barely passes to be a starting quarterback.
I don't...
20 of 31 for 275 yards, and then you had rushing game for the Rams is going to be something to watch. Malcolm Brown, Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson, three-headed monster. I think Cam Akers will eventually come out of this group as the head guy, but for now, I see Malcolm Brown getting most of the carries with Darrell Henderson and Akers kind of getting in there every once in a while. I mean, it was split between them 18, 14, and 3.
Mm-hmm.
So
I did not know. Yeah.
It was an even split between Brown and Akers. Henderson was hurt in the first game, so he did not really play very much. But seeing Akers gain 14 carries is something to watch. Malcolm Brown gained both touchdowns, though, and also 79 yards. Anyway.
That's really it for you talking about him, but honestly...
The Rams looked much better than I expected.
Jared Goff
they surprised me in the first game.
Jared Goff is just Baker Mayfield, but on a better team.
So we're
talking about
we still have Steelers and
Giants now. I mean,
Broncos.
Honestly, I think the Steelers will eventually pull away, but who knows? And then I honestly probably just the Titans will win. I don't know. I don't know too much about the Broncos just yet. It'll be interesting to see them this year with I think the addition of Melvin Gordon now, right? This is his first year there?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean Melvin Gordon, Royce Freeman, and Philip Lindsay all in that running back core, but Royce Freeman isn't getting it.
All right. Let's wrap it up with talking about our division standings predictions. So, AFC East, we've got the Buffalo Bills, the Patriots, the Jets, and the Dolphins. Mitch, how do you have this playing out?
Bills. I have Bills in the AFC East.
Well,
New England will probably challenge them at least a little bit. It could be closer, but I got the Bills winning the AFC East. They got the offense they've been looking for, and their defense is still exactly the same as last year. So already looking very good.
Well,
now let's keep moving. That. Oh wait, you gotta make your picks.
Well, Predict. I want to predict the whole standings 1 through 4. How do you think it's all going to shape out? The whole division.
Well, I'll keep.
You don't have to go in depth about every single team. Just let me at least know what how you think the standings are going to shape up in that entirely.
I feel like it, so I will.
Yeah, fair enough.
But like I said, for the Bills, the offense they've been looking for, and defense is still the same. So I got Bills winning the AFC East. New England maybe be pretty close and be a challenger, but I got Bills. In the AFC North, I think it's pretty obvious.
Wait, no. I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I want you to do the entire AFC East and say, I think it's going to be Bills, Patriots, Jets, Dolphins. Okay. Yeah, like the whole division. Like rank it. Yeah, there we go.
So, yeah, Bills number 1, New England a close 2. I think they got just enough talent to probably be number 2. They won't quite win the AFC East. And then you got probably Jets, Miami. It'll be just a dogfight between those two for the third spot, and then whoever gets last. It'll be very close, but I think the Jets have a little bit over Miami. So I'll take the Jets for number 3.
I'm pretty close to the same there. Bills, Patriots, but I think I think they're going to make a change eventually, and Tua's going to start playing, and I think that's going to be a good quarterback duo, and I think it'll be Dolphins, just like half a game over the Jets or something like that. Like, barely anything over the Jets. But those two don't really matter. I think it'll be Bills-Patriots. All right, now we go to the North. Obviously,
Yep,
Ravens.
the AFC North, I think number 1 is inevitable. The Browns.
I hope you know I'm going to put a picture of Swaggy P in there to go in the... when you said that. In editing. The
Baltimore Ravens is what I'm trying to say. There we go. Gosh.
Oh boy.
First thing comes out is Cleveland Browns. Yeah, number 1 team.
We were just saying they were terrible. Nah, they'll be the number 1 team inevitably.
Just to clarify, Baltimore Ravens, not Cleveland Browns. Moving on. So Baltimore, obviously, they're Baltimore. They're an unbelievable roster, defensively and offensively. They'll win the division. Pittsburgh is going to be very good this year, in my opinion. They're not looking great against the Giants right now.
But it's also the Giants. And they have a 38-year-old Ben Roethlisberger. So.
Yeah, but I think Pittsburgh, healthy, is going to be very good. This defense is unbelievable. I think that defense is the best in the league. And the offense has got talent. So I think Pittsburgh will probably be a playoff team, wild card. And they'll get number 2 here. Cleveland's going to be over Cincinnati, I'd hope. But I think Cleveland will get the third spot in the division.
I hope.
I hope. But since the Browns will probably get number 3, and Cincinnati will be 4.
All right, and I'll say exact same, and I'll start with the South, AFC South. I think Texans will win their division. I mean, Deshaun Watson, Barry Johnson, get just an all around good team. I think the Titans will probably round it out, be number 2. Same as last year. Derrick Henry is just an absolute unit of a man who just tears through you. And honestly, I think I'm going to go Jacksonville 3, Indianapolis 4. I think if Gardner Minshew can stay at least pretty good the whole year, they can at least pull out the 3 spot in their division. I don't think they'll be a playoff team, but I think they can at least pull out the 3 spot. It all depends on how Phillip Rivers plays, though. Those bottom 2, again, are going to be kind of a dogfight. It just depends on whose quarterback outplays the other.
For me, the entire AFC South is just, it could be anybody.
That's fair.
I think the Titans will be a number 1 team. I like Tennessee a lot this year. I think they will most likely win it. But anyone else can win it too. Mm-hmm. And for 2, 3, and 4, it could be, I think, most likely, what I think is the likely and what will probably, I think, will happen would be something along the lines Tennessee, Indy, Houston, Jacksonville, something like that. But it could really go any other way.
Honestly,
there is no telling who will win the AFC South. There really isn't.
No, it's pretty even. And then, all right, I mean, the AFC West. I think this one's pretty clear cut. I think it's gonna be the Chiefs,
Chargers.
Yeah, totally. At the bottom, the Chiefs. I think it'll go Chiefs, Raiders, Broncos, Chargers. I think that one's not too crazy.
Yeah, obviously, I think again, like Baltimore, the Kansas City. Yes, not now. I think I made it obvious that I did not say the Browns as the number 1 team.
There you go.
All right, so I think again. Kansas City is another inevitable champion for the AFC West. They'll win it. And then number 2 is going to be a war between Las Vegas and Denver. Those two both have some nice players on, Las Vegas is the better team offensively, but then Denver's a better team defensive. The Raiders are the Raiders are the better team offensively, and the Broncos are the better team defensively. I think I said that right. But I think it'll be very close between those two teams. So they both look very, very good. I think both of them could really. It'll be competitive for the number 2 spot, and the Chargers just last. Come on, they just. Tyrod Taylor as your starting quarterback. I mean, if Herbert takes over eventually and then shows something,
might be good.
That's fine. But if really Tyrod Taylor does beat your rookie running back, you have a problem. Like you have a serious problem if that's who beat out your rookie quarterback.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to the NFC. The one that is always the same, no matter how much anybody wants it to change. The NFC North: Packers, Vikings, Bears, Lions. Maybe the Lions take the 3 spot. Honestly, they could take the 3 spot. After seeing last night, I don't know. But I could honestly see it being Bears, Lions, or Lions, Bears. But typically, I would assume it's probably going to be Packers, Vikings again. Definitely at least the Packers winning it.
Honestly, I have Minnesota winning that division. I don't think Rodgers was very good in his first game. Don't get me wrong. Packers aren't doing that again. There's no way they're putting up 43 points on the Vikings again. Packers are a good team, but I don't even know if they'll make the playoffs this year. To be honest, I'm not high on the Packers. Their defense sucks. Their defense is bad. There's no other way of really putting that. And then for their offense, Aaron Jones is a good running back, and Rodgers, of course, is Rodgers. But then there's Devontae Adams. What other receiver do you have in that receiving core? Nothing. Sure, you had Alan Lazard get a touchdown, and Scantling did something for a moment, but there is no clear number 2 guy on that team. So you know what every other defense is going to do. They're going to just double-team Devontae Adams. I mean, obviously the Vikings didn't do that, and it seriously caused them a problem. But all you got to do, you double-team Devontae Adams, and you basically shut down the entire Green Bay the entire Green Bay passing game. Because it is just Devontae Adams. There is no number 2 guy to really, like, if Adams were to be ineffective or to get hurt, there is no number 2 guy that can carry the load or have some kind of player that can really step up. They don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the Packers for number 1 this year. I think Vikings will take it. They did not look good against the Packers. Again, like I was saying, they did not look great. But the Vikings, they have new additions on the defense that look very good. And the offense looks very, very talented.
Yeah.
Even without Stephon Diggs. I mean, Adam Thielen did just fine.
I mean, I'd love to see Green Bay not be in the playoffs and not win the division. I hate Green Bay more than anyone. They're my least favorite. They're my least favorite NFL team.
So I have Minnesota 1, Green Bay 2, maybe a playoff team, and then as for the 3, I'm a homer. Lions.
It's a toss-up between the Lions and the Bears. I give it to the Bears just because they kicked our butts last night.
And I'm a homer, so I'm going to hope and just say Detroit.
I don't let my hopes
Detroit
get up.
3 and
I don't let my hopes get up too high because then
I'm a
I can't.
homer.
I was about to
Lions 3. I'm a homer.
If you're a homer, then put him number 1, baby. I'm just kidding.
I can't do that. Then I would be wrong.
It's like I'm a homer, but I'm also a realist. That's not going to happen. All right.
Yep, exactly.
Now, probably for the most uneventful division in football, the NFC East. Cowboys, Eagles, Washington, New York. I honestly don't know. After 1, it could be anybody. They all suck.
For me, I have it pretty straightforward. Dallas, Philly, Giants, Washington.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah. Hey, don't be racist.
But Dallas, Philly, Giants. I gotta get used to saying Washington now. But Dallas, I think, is gonna get it together. They did not look good in the first game, and also the Rams just. I don't know where that came from, but the Rams looked very good in their first game. I think Dallas is gonna get it together. They're gonna come back strong, and next game look very much improved. Philly just has way too many injuries to really make any difference at all. And then the Giants are just lacking the pieces to really be anything relevant. And Washington, I don't know where that came from. They're not doing that again.
They're just Washington.
They're Washington. They're probably just.
All right, let's try to breeze through these last two. NFC South, I have it Saints, Bucks.
Toss up.
I'm gonna say Panthers, Falcons.
For me, I have New Orleans, Tampa. Coin toss. Who knows? It could be either one.
I know it's pretty bad, but it'll be an interesting division. And then let's breeze through this last one here, kind of the one I know we all have been waiting to talk about, the NFC West. I have it Seahawks, 49ers, Cardinals, Rams.
The entire division minus the Rams is an entire coin toss. It could be any one of those three for the championship. They all will probably make the playoffs. But
especially with the 7-team format.
Any one of those three could win the division. But if I had to choose, I'd probably say Niners and Seattle, and then Arizona.
Arizona's kind of the third. I think Arizona's kind of always the third, and it's the coin toss between the other two.
But all three of those teams will probably make the playoffs, and it will be very close between those three for the number one spot.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, that was our big kickoff weekend. Our big kickoff weekend one. It did go a little bit longer than we expected, but we did kind of do a deep dive into almost everything NFL. But hopefully this will be up soon. I actually do want to do a little bit of funny editing on this, some little editing to kind of have even at the bottom scoreboard. I want to have a final scoreboard with stats for specific players on the sides of them, just so they can kind of have a visual of what we're talking about. But anyway, that's going to be that for this week. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. But peace out.
Adios.